Hello YouTube. In this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to create a simple Android application. Android of course is Google's very popular operating system for phones and tablets. Pretty much all the apps that you see on there are created using the tools that Google provides called the Google Android Development Kit, or ADT, or actually it's Android Developer Tools. Um, so in this tutorial you're probably going to want to know some programming, especially object-oriented programming languages such as C++, C#, or especially Java, because that's the language that Android uses. So if you know those, you're going to feel right at home. This is going to be easy. If you don't know programming too well, that's okay. You can follow along, and you're not going to get lost as long as you type in the text exactly as you see it, and you'll get to play with things a little bit. There's not too much coding in here. And hopefully this will inspire you to actually go and learn to code, because it's a lot of fun to make apps. It's a very marketable skill right now. It's definitely a good idea to learn how to do this sort of thing if you're interested in it. So the first thing we're going to go do is go to google.com, and you're going to search for Android Developer Tools. Okay, and we're going to click this first link here. And we're going to click this download the Android SDK. Okay. And we're going to click this big blue button right here. And you can read the terms and conditions if you want. Most people just click the box. You're probably going to want 64-bit. If you're not sure which version you need, it's probably 64-bit. So I'm going to let that download. Make sure you save the file. It's going to be this very large zip file. So go ahead and save that. And I've already got it downloaded here, so we don't need to wait. But you're going to want that to download. Once it does download, go to your downloads folder and bring that zip file somewhere where you know where it is. So I'm lazy, I'm just putting it on my desktop for now. And I'm going to create a new folder here. And this can be anywhere you want. This folder is going to basically house all your Android related stuff. So I'm just going to call it Android stuff. And I'm going to pop this guy in here. I'm going to open this folder up, and I'm going to extract the files. Takes just a second. Alright, so now that that's done, you can go ahead and delete the zip file. It's not really needed. Let's open this folder up. We've got the SDK Manager exe. We're not going to mess with that. We're not going to mess with the SDK folder. We're going to look at Eclipse. So open the Eclipse folder. You're going to see this purple icon here. It says eclipse.exe, or it might just say Eclipse without the exe at the end for you. You're going to double click on it, and it's going to open up the Android Developer Tools. So this is the program we're going to be using. And the first thing you're going to need to do is tell it where you want your workspace to be. So your workspace is basically the place where all of your work is saved, all of your programs are saved there. And we've already got this nice Android stuff folder here. Let's keep things organized. Let's keep it there. So go ahead and find that folder. And I'm going to click Android stuff, say OK. Click OK, and then it'll continue opening up. Alright. So we're going to click New Android Application. Click that. Alright, so now we get to name our project. And I'm just going to name it My First App. You can name it whatever you want. Project name, you can just leave it the way it is. This stuff's all auto-filling as you type. The package name, you can just leave this the way it is. What this actually is it's a way for the Android store to uniquely identify your package. So, and it uses like a reverse DNS naming convention. Is basically a backwards version of a web address. So if you happen to have a website and you basically want to name this app after yourself or your website, you can, for example, if I had a Duncan.com, I would name it com.duncan.myfirstapp. But you probably don't need to worry about it. You just leave it the way it was. Click Next here. We're not going to create a custom launcher icon, so let's uncheck that box. Blank activity. I'm going to check that. We're going to click Next. This stuff's all fine. Let's click Finish, and it's going to build our Android app. It's going to put in all the files. It's kind of like a skeleton overview of a very, very basic app without anything in it yet. Okay. So this is Eclipse, and Eclipse is a big program that's used to develop in a lot of areas, not just Android. But with the ADT, it's basically Eclipse with an Android plugin. So you're going to notice the Package Explorer over here. This has all of your files that are related to your program. So we've got the source file. This is where the actual source code is, the source folder. And then these next 4 or 5 things, those are all just included dependencies. They're required for things to work. Really, we're just interested in the res folder and the src folder. So this stands for source and this stands for resource. So we're going to actually, the first thing we're going to do in here is we're going to delete out some of these files just to make things less confusing. They've already got some XML files in here, but they're more complicated than we need to be. So we're going to delete these. Let's delete this guy, activity main XML. Click OK. Alright. Now let's right click on Layout and go to New and go to Android XML file. And we are going to name this activity main.xml. Okay? And then here in the root element, we're going to change it from linear layout. We're going to scroll down, we're going to find relative layout and click Finish. Alright, so here's our layout, and this is basically a way to define what the user interface looks like. This is before we get to real programming. So what we're going to want to do is, so we've got a graphical view, and we've also got an XML view. XML is very similar to HTML, if you're familiar with that. Just like you use HTML to lay out what the front end of a website looks like, you use XML to basically define what the user interface looks like on an app. So right now it's empty, and we're going to go ahead and click a button. We're going to drag a button and plop it down right here, somewhere in the middle. Alright, and let's go to, now we're going to see these tabs down here. We're going to click on activity main.xml. And this is the XML version. These two things are linked. This is basically the code version of what you're seeing here. So we dragged and dropped that button, and it wrote the code up for us and put it here. We need to change one thing though. We don't want the button just to say button. We want to have some sort of custom text in there. So we're going to go ahead and type, and make sure you type this exactly as I do. Type in string / button1. So that's the name of our button. It's already named up here, just called button1, and we're going to name a string called button1. And if you're not familiar with programming, a string is basically a set of characters that represents text. It could be one character, it could be a million characters. Basically any text you see on a computer program is represented by a string somewhere in the code. So we're naming a string. We're saying that this button is going to have a string called button1, and it's going to pull from that and it's going to display it here on the button. So the next part we need to do is we need to actually define what this string is called. So that's another, all the strings are set in this one folder in here called strings.xml. It's under the values folder and the resource folder. So click on strings.xml. Alright, now let's click on down here this bottom tab, and we're going to add a new string. So you see we've got 3 of them already in here. If you want to, you could delete these first 2, not the top one. And type in string name equals, and remember we named it button1, so button1, that's the name of the string. And here we can type in whatever we want it to say on the button. So I'm going to say it's going to say click me. You can put whatever you want. That's fine. Alright, now that we have that part, we are going to change up the source code. We're going to actually make this button do something when we click it. But I'm going to do that in the second video, so I'll see you at part 2.